Okay, very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for coming again to our class. Again with us today we have Adriana Tan from Pozible.com. This is the second time she appears in our MOOC. She gave us the Let's Talk crowdfunding, and today she is here to actually give you specific advice on the campaign that you are working on. So the format of the class today is you will work in groups of 4, and I'd like you to share very quickly what your project is all about, but I really would like you to move into how would the campaign look like? What are you going to give away? How are you going to convince people to pledge? I really want the discussion to revolve now around that. So Adriana and I will go group by group, and she will give you advice on how to achieve the objectives that you guys are looking for, which is for people to pledge, for you to have a successful project. So I would like you first to welcome her. She came all the way from Singapore. Yeah. And if there is any group that would like to start, you could just raise your hand. I would prefer to give the opportunity to those who did not have the opportunity to share yet. This is actually a very good opportunity for all of you to get to learn from her, because she has been through many projects. She has seen the project that have done very, very well, and she also has seen the project that failed. And she could really give you some feedback that will tell you maybe you are on the right track, or she could propose certain things to put you on the right track. So anyone would like to start? Okay, I think you start the discussion and I'm going to pick. I'm sure you guys trust my judgment. Yeah, you want me to pick, so I will pick. So start the discussion, make some noise, and then we will just go to one of the groups.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. So our project is.
But you all have your own projects, right?
Yeah. So right now, what we talk.
You need to repeat whatever you've said. So are you going to talk about your project?
Yeah. And in general, instead of speaking of different projects, we'll focus on one at the moment, which is Yorik's one.
Okay.
Previously, he had presented about providing the clothes for the orphans.
Okay. Yeah.
So the challenge or the issue is, how do we make this project, interesting and be supported by the ones on the internet?
So this is whose project?
Yorik's.
Okay, I would like Yorik to speak about it.
Sure.
So Yorik, very quickly, because Adriana didn't really see your presentation the other day. So very quickly tell her what is the objective, and then what are your thoughts on the campaign? So how do you envisage the Pozible.com campaign would look like? But very quickly tell her about the project first.
About my project is raise a fund to buy a new clothes for orphans and give the orphans a present during their cultural festival in Malaysia. Actually involve Malay, Chinese and Indian. And it's like this, every time during the big cultural festival we will get a present, but not for orphans. So I would like to raise a fund from Pozible to buy the clothes for the orphans. And I also recruit a designer to draw a new pattern and then use the fund to print the t-shirt and then send to others. The fund will include the postage rate and also the teacher's fees. And the campaign that I want to put in on Pozible is I would like to reward the person who pledge me in a figure of a large figure of amount of pledge with a special design T-shirt. Yeah, will be posted on Pozible. And also will tell the details who I will going to donate the T-shirt, and yeah.
Okay.
All I did.
Yeah. So when I hear that it's a great project, but I hear two different things. So one is the clothes for the orphans, and one is money for orphans, right? So,
No, just for clothes for orphans only. The money is used
but you're
to
talking about a fund for the orphans to
funds for the for
To make the t-shirts.
to make the t-shirts. So orphans will be getting t-shirts
Getting
as
t-shirts
gifts.
As gift.
Okay,
their
yeah.
cultural
Okay, then
as
that's much better. So you just need to angle your marketing around making this project sound as simple as possible. So if you have one sentence to describe your project, what is it? Is it t-shirts for orphans? Full stop.
No.
Or is it, you know, like what would you say it was, right?
I would say share our love with T-shirt for the orphans.
Okay, and when do they get these shirts? During the festive season?
Yeah, festive season.
Okay, so if you can put these two together, something about giving and orphans and festive season, then you just have to be really clear about the objective of the project, because the way you've described it, when I hear it, I just think you're raising money for an orphanage, and I don't know what you're actually doing. And then there are the different pieces like the t-shirt and the orphans and the money. So just try to bring it back to one simple sentence. So I think you already got it. So for your campaign, just build everything around it. In your description, talk about why orphans, when, you know. Yeah, so when is, you know, then you can say, okay, in Malaysia, there are many cultural festivities, and on these occasions, other children would get gifts, but orphans would feel left out. So we want to address this need and to start something where we would give them some gifts in the form of t-shirts during, say, you know, the next 4 festive seasons. So if you can pick, if you say festive season, it's very broad, so you can't really put a limit to the amount of money you're going to raise. But if you can say, okay, for the next Chinese New Year, Hari Raya, and Deepavali, right? So pick these 3 or whatever 3 you want, and say for the next upcoming ones, then you have the dates, and then you can say that, okay, there are X number of children in these different categories, and I need X number of t-shirts. So then you can work backwards from there and ask for an appropriate sum of money. Yeah.
Thanks for the advice. Anyone else wants to talk about their project? If you're not ready,
I think for the rewards, a very simple one would be asking people to also buy a t-shirt, right, from you. So if you're already printing t-shirts, maybe you can print a bigger size, and then you can sort of do a you know, like adopt a child, but like, you know, adopt a t-shirt. So when you buy like one shirt, another shirt goes to a child. Yeah, so then that way it's very clear reward system. So maybe if you put it at 25 ringgit or 50 ringgit, right, then that's very simple. Yeah.
So possible can do like this also. Like I sell the reward, and then like I give. If they buy the t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Then I give it to them. Then the amount of money I can
no. So then what you do is that for yourself, you think of the reward as 2 t-shirts together. So you think of that as a single unit cost, and then figure out the shipping as well. So maybe you think of each child so maybe there are 500 children orphanage. So if 500 people support this project, then you can not only get the cost of the t-shirts printed, but you can also get a little bit more for like leftovers where you can do other things. So if you do get a t-shirt and support a child thing, I think it's an easier way to let them see what they're doing, rather than just give money because people are tired of giving money. But if they are getting something, then maybe that's better. So if you put, say, I don't know what your cost is going to be, but for example, if these 2 t-shirts was 50 ringgit for the adult and the child, then if you work downwards and upwards, so if you go down, what if people want to give you 10 or 20, right? Maybe you can send them a postcard. from the orphans. But for something like this, you would need to, tie up with an orphanage, and you would actually have to go get these things done. So you need to think about how many postcards you can actually offer. And then if you go upwards, you can say, okay, if you don't just want a t-shirt, maybe you can get a postcard and a t-shirt and something else, right? So what we've talked about so far has been a good or a service, which is a basic type of reward that you actually have to give someone. But there's another type, which is an experience reward. So maybe there are people here who want to have the opportunity to visit an orphanage, right? So if you could say, okay, if you're like my platinum sponsor or reward giver, you can get the chance to go on a field trip to the zoo with 10 of the children from the orphanage that you also go on. Yeah, but that type of thing would be limited because you also don't want to do too much of it. Yeah. Or you would name something like a door in the orphanage after them. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
So regarding it, you mentioned that if a person were to donate, they'll get a shirt, and the shirt would be as the same as the orphan. Meaning that if they were to purchase a shirt, it will be more or less donated to the orphan. Meaning that they have a t-shirt as well. Is it?
No, I was thinking that maybe the design is the same t-shirt, but one size is for the donors and the smaller sizes are for the
So
children.
the donor will be also getting the t-shirt.
Yeah, that's what I meant by that.
But then they'll create another expense, which means we have to make the t-shirt. Okay, that will be the simple thing, and we have to ship it.
Yeah, so that's the downside of that.
That's
But for when I said that, it was because I thought that it was a more interesting way to position an idea like this. You can also just do what you said you wanted to do, but you need to find an angle. Like, why would someone who isn't here, for example, be interested to donate to an orphanage here? I mean, there are a lot of orphanages everywhere, so find an angle and work with it.
So my question to you is this: who is your customer?
Customer is someone who want to give care to the orphans.
Yeah. So if this is your customer, the person who's going to pledge, how are you going to make this exciting for him or her to pledge? That's what Adriana is trying to say. It's not just because you believe in this cause, I will give you money for that. Because everyone wants money from us, right? Everyone wants us to donate, everyone wants us to support their cause, and we have limited resources. Now, if you want, so it really depends on when you go to who will be your customer, you could actually dissect this even further. I'll give you an example. I really would like to take my kids to spend some time with the orphans, because sometimes I want them to appreciate what they have and they just take it for granted. So if you create that package for families that if they pledge, then you will give us maybe the opportunity to go and present it by ourselves. This also could be a different way. But you see here, you are talking about people who are married with families with maybe a little bit extra they are willing to give. So that you will cater in a different way. Now, Adriana have told you in the first class, if you recall, that your campaign is not really on Pausable. Pausable is just a platform. Your real campaign happens on the social media and where you attract your customer. So if you decide now that your campaign is going to be for people who are between 30 to 40 with 2 kids and they want to have that experience in the orphanage, for example, if you decide, then you have to look for these people in a different place. If your customers are the students who want to support the orphans, then these people will be at a different place. The way to address them is also different. Am I making sense, Adriana?
Yeah. Okay, so if you can go back and do some research, look at this company called Tom's Shoes, TOM. So it's a very famous American company. They're known for making fashionable shoes, and basically every pair of shoes that you buy, and they're quite expensive, they give a pair to an African child. So it's sort of where I thought about this. So whether or not that model works, I don't know, but that's one way of thinking about it as a marketing tool. Yeah. Another way is maybe you can create a movement around it. So you know about the yellow ribbon, pink ribbon campaigns, right? Yellow Ribbon is this international campaign where on a specific day in the year they ask people who support the cause of letting ex-prisoners get back into society and get jobs and not be discriminated against, right? So then they have a signifier, like a ribbon that you wear. So why I bring that up is maybe you could think about an interesting way visually to do this, right? So maybe you can say, if my customers are students, if I want students in Malaysia around my age to understand more about the plight of orphans, then maybe you can start a movement and put this t-shirt thing around it. So what if maybe you were making sports t-shirts, right? You know, like the jerseys, and you encourage different sports organizations to, on this specific day, wear this shirt, so that, and then you can also sell it online through our platform, and then the proceeds of the sales would go towards maybe not just t-shirts for kids, but maybe just general gifts for kids. Yeah. So I think there are a lot of things you can do with this. Yeah.
So the key thing that I hear from Adriana is to be specific and don't confuse the message. Don't say I want everyone who wants to support the orphans to come, because most likely you will be able to address no one. But if you specifically say I want this, and then you address the needs of those people. So maybe my needs is to expose my kids to the orphans, because I think it's very good for them, and I want to build, service learning into them, for example. Then maybe there are a few people like me. These are going to be your customers.
So they will
that's an example. Now you may say, as she suggested, no, this is something that is very hot, and the youth are very excited about it. Then you do it differently. So maybe you give me the t-shirt. I don't really wear t-shirts. Maybe I won't be that excited about it. But maybe if you give me a necktie, so now if you give him a necktie, maybe he doesn't really wear neckties. So you really need to see who is your customer specifically, and then what the customer wants at that level of income, at that stage in life, and then deliver that value to them in a meaningful way. Then you need to go and try to think, where can you find them? Are they on Facebook or not? If they are not, then you do something else. If they are, then you go there, and things like that. Is it clear? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
So, would the customer not normally like to look at the, because at the end of his event, right, he will deliver all the shirts, right? So will the customer like to have a look at the pictures, or he will just deliver and it's done?
Okay, so using our platform, you have a feature called updates. So usually what will happen is, if you've said you will deliver a t-shirt, and that's the reward. If you've delivered it, then technically it's fine, but a good practice is to just keep updating your community anyway. So you can say, okay, you should have gotten your t-shirts by now, and next week we are going to do this special event for the children at orphanage, and then you can post the photos when they're ready. So it's not a strict requirement, but because if it's a cause that you really care about, or a business that you really care about, then you're also going to want to keep your supporters posted about what you're doing, so that they can give you the feedback. Yeah.
So I have a question to you. Have you guys had a look at Posable?
Yes.
Do you have a look? Yeah. So you see that there are a variety of ways to give the reward. There is I think a research ship where they will give you, I don't know, a visit on that ship, which is like supporting whales or whatever
Yeah,
research.
yeah.
So actually, you need to be as creative as as you can. There is a band. I think they say they will play for you wherever.
They would come to your house
To
and
play.
barbecue you dinner and sing a song,
Yeah.
or singers with or guitarists would give you a special guitar lesson and write a song for a girlfriend
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So there are a lot of creative ways you can think about it. Maybe something that you can all do is you can go to our site, look at Explore, and then look at the category that is closest to your project. So then you can get some tips on, especially successful ones. So you can pick that category and then you can pick only show me the successful ones. Then you can look at what has worked. Yeah.
Okay, great.
If
Thanks.
you have any questions, just email me.
Yeah. So, who's going to speak about his project? Okay, this is an opportunity. Do you want to talk about it? Yeah. Okay. So I think what you could do is quickly you explain the project to Adriana and then move on about your thoughts about the campaign. How are you going to?
Well, first of all, what's your name?
CK, just
Sure.
Yeah. So do you heard about WTO before? World Toilet Organization? Yeah, he actually came to give us a lecture right last week. So he's talking about making merchandise for them. So my idea is just merchandise, official merchandise for this WTO to raise fund for them. So I'm thinking like any related products that we can help them. Yeah. So I'm thinking like maybe toilet paper, and then on the toilet paper we make something like something funny, we just print something like tags, what people don't want, and then for them to like use it, maybe towel. For the I'm looking to working with him, so I'm looking what ways can I contact him. I think he would join the open learning.
I think I can probably put you in touch with him.
No, he was here.
Okay.
He was here on Friday.
Yeah, last week.
So we do have the connection with him. He was the one who actually suggested to the students
Yeah.
to maybe crowdfund some official merchandise
Yeah.
for WTO so that they can raise funds.
Yeah. Okay. So I think for something like this, I'm quite familiar with what they do because a friend of mine used to work for him. So perhaps instead of just saying, "Oh, this is NGO in Singapore called World Toilet Organization and they want merchandise," I think that's a very simple, straightforward way. But I don't think it's the most effective way because to most people, they're just gonna say, why should I care, right? Like, how does it affect me? But, or why should I even think about contributing to this organization in any way? But if you can find what are the key messages that they stand for that you can portray in your campaign, then work on that. So something that I can think of is, they're an advocate for toilet health and hygiene, right? So if you could pick, say, a country, for example, say, India, right? So I spent a lot of time in India. 67% of girls of toilets in government schools don't have toilet facilities for girls, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of them don't go on to secondary school. So you find some fun facts just for yourself for a start.
News before.
Yeah.
The women in India, if they want to marry a man, they're required the man house have a proper toilet first. So it's like,
It's actually a really big deal. I mean, on a side note, if you can go Google for this documentary called Menstrual Man, it's about a man in India who he didn't know that hygiene was such a big problem for women at home until he found out about what his wife was doing every time she had a period, and he made it his life's goal to make it better for Indian women. So he created this entire social enterprise where he can use he sells machines. They're really cheap. So say you're a poor woman in India and you wanted to start a business. Maybe you're abused by your husband, for example, and you group together your friends. That NGO would give you the machine, and you can start making your own brand of sanitary napkins. So it was just about how a really simple idea like that from a man who had no school education kind of changed the world, developing world, or something very basic. So back to your project. Yeah, go. I think you can look for some interesting facts, right, about toilet health, hygiene around the world. Maybe not just in the developing world, but maybe everywhere as well. And then if you could pick an angle that you think is worthwhile to do a campaign around, then you can have the merchandise as a result of it. So you could say you're starting a campaign to educate people in the developed world about toilet hygiene in schools in a certain place, right? Or about something. Like did you know that X percentage of deaths in the developing world is caused by something really simple, which is diarrhea, because there's no access to hygienic water and sanitation. So pick an angle and then try to structure your merchandise around it. So in a sense, it's a bit like a social enterprise, I think. Yeah.
And for this, I believe that Jack Sim himself has a huge network. So the moment you put the product on, he will actually be the one who supports you and go and talk about it and things like that, isn't it? Yeah. So if it's a T-shirt, he will wear it and he will email everyone that he knows. I think you've picked the winner.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can make some really cute merchandise. I don't know how you're going to do it. Maybe you have a designer friend who can help you. We had this project where this lady wanted to do research about maggots, and she's a doctor, and she made these really cute maggot plush toys, which people actually wanted because it was funny. Yeah. So maybe you can have a cute toilet. Yeah.
And Adriana, talking about the wanting or trying to attract a designer to work with you, which actually lead us to the key core competencies that you require in your team. So have you put the project up on Open Learning?
Create a group there.
Yes.
I have created a group, but I haven't posted on it yet.
Yeah. So I think maybe you need to quickly do something about that. Get Jack Sim to join your group as an online student. If you have him with you, then you could actually recruit people much easier. You say the founder of the WTO is with me. So you need to know how to pitch things to the others.
Yeah.
Any other question? No. Sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to message me on the site. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your project and campaign? It's by the end of the month. It has to be on, as you know.
Yeah.
Maybe. So who would like to talk? We have 3 different projects, so this is an opportunity. Now I'm actually taking only one project per table.
Cool. So I go first.
Yeah. What's your name?
Joshua, and I'm looking at raising funds by selling wristbands online, and all proceeds will go to our beneficiary. Yeah. Mainly we are now targeting the blind, so the Malaysia Association of the Blind. Yep. That's the overview. We will raise the fund and just straight make a donation to the association.
Okay, sure.
So I guess the question is, are you working with an organization? So have you identified the beneficiary yet?
MEB, yeah, Malaysia Association for the Blind.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you spoken to them already?
No, we have not, because we need to set up our own team first before we propose to the. Yeah.
Okay. I was saying to one of the guys over there, I think with charitable projects, nothing wrong with them. I run my own NGO as well, raising money for kids in India. But the thing with these types of projects is it cannot be too open-ended. So this is crowdfunding isn't really like selling flags. It's not like walking down the street and saying, "Do you want to contribute to the Malaysian Society for the Blind?" It's not like that at all. You need to find a way to attract the people who may not care, right? It's not that they're uncharitable, but there are so many different charities fighting for your time and your attention and your money. So how are you going to make this project the key one that sets you apart from the rest? Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you have any specific suggestion for him to make this project?
Okay, so if blindness is an issue that you care about, then think about why this is an issue you care about. So maybe it's something that you can articulate in your pitch. So, I care about this because blindness affects X percentage of Malaysians and blah, blah, blah. And then you need to sort of tie it back to it in a sense. So wristbands, when you hear about wristbands, it's not really a very attractive thing to get. Like people, I don't know about you, but people don't really want a wristband. So, what else could you do, right? So, any ideas?
Jack Sim spoke about the blinds.
Yeah,
Do you recall what did he say?
the blind.
Yes, he's actually now working.
Yeah, he mentioned he been working with Dialogue in the Dark. One of the NGO actually we been there before. I've been there before as well. Being thrown in the dark for 1 hour and experienced myself being blind, and was being led by a blind auntie, and she was very very cool. And that what struck me to create this wristband, because I remember because she mentioned about wristband, and I was thinking, why not you make a wristband that has braille?
Yeah, so that's better than just a wristband. So so I think that's a good start. What you need to do is to work around a path like the one you just described. So perhaps you can work with Dialogue in the Dark if you're here, and then you can say one of the things that we can do is you can contribute 50 ringgit and you can bring a friend on a certain day to come and experience this for yourself. Or something else is a friend of mine is part of this group that goes jogging with blind people every week. I don't know if there's something like that here, but if there was, then it would be perfect in a way, because it's also an experience. So what they do is they would pair up with a blind runner, and they would blindfold themselves, and they would be tied to each other. And they would have to run like a pretty hardcore like trail. So perhaps you could, if the thing with Dialogue in the Dark doesn't work out, maybe you could sort of design your own thing. Maybe there's an event where on a Saturday or a Sunday morning you have this thing, maybe just a very small mini one, where people can experience something like that as a reward. Yeah.
I think this is a very good idea. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, we don't have that level of awareness of the difficulties that the blind or the disabled in general face. Yeah, so maybe you could even create that event. It may not be the Dialogue in the Dark. I think even crossing the street here is a big issue, right? And maybe if you could, I don't know, again, I don't have the statistics. Do we have too many blind children? If you pick this of the impact on the economy, if these people are not empowered and they end up being a liability rather than being productive part of the society, I think that's an angle that I will listen to personally. You get me?
Or you could pick something more practical in a way. I mean, not that it's not, but it's just that if you were to pick a different approach, which is not so movement-driven as the one we just talked about, but more practical in the sense that perhaps there are certain types of blindness that is, like some people are legally blind, but they're not fully blind, right? So perhaps there are certain types of treatments or tools or equipment that they could get if they had the money to, that could help improve their sight. So perhaps if there was if you knew that maybe a certain amount of money, a few hundred ringgit, is a special type of contact lens or implant or whatever it is. Maybe not surgery, it's just too much. But if they're just research what's available and see who are the people who need that. And then if you said, okay, my project is very clear, it's about blindness, but it's specifically about this type of blindness. and I want to help 100 blind people be able to get access to visual tools that would improve their lives. Yeah, yeah.
So as this forms in your mind, you think of who will be the people who are interested in this. This is again along the lines of brain rewiring that we do to try to appreciate the things that we have, and I think it's a very good experience if we get to experience that as well. We should not take our health, our eyesight for granted. This is something that any one of us could actually.
So maybe the running thing is a bit too far out, but maybe something you could do is if you have a friend who is a good cook, for example, like could you think about doing like a dinner party for 20 people where if you gave a certain amount of money, you could get dinner in, one of those dining in dark places. I don't think there's one here, but maybe you could do a mini one, right?
Yeah. Actually, we because our School of Hospitality runs 4 very good fine dine restaurants for the students. So this could be a nice partnership. So you could say, I've gotten the school to give me the restaurant for a night where I'm going to turn off the lights, and then you build things around that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So, and that's something that I think other people would be keen to experience as well, even if they weren't maybe going to contribute to a blindness charity. But if it was for a good cause and they got something like that, it could be something they would do.
So you will have multiple levels. Maybe those who will give you only small amount of money will get a card, right?
Yeah.
And for the 20 people who will get to dine, you will require a certain amount of money that you need to cover the cost of the meal, and things like that.
Yeah, and if you could bring actual blind people to the dinner, that's also something else. Yeah.
Any question for Adriana? They're very shy.
No worries. If you have any questions, just you can message me on the website as well.
Yes. Yeah. You just go to her. I would like the thing to happen on her profile so that we accumulate I would like this also for the online students to message her on her profile so that we accumulate the answers rather than they are fragmented all over. Yeah. So that other people could actually see how she answered the other question. Yeah, I've seen her answering in other places, but I really wish if I could put everything on her profile. Okay, great. Thanks.
No worries. Yeah. What's your name again? Sam. No, I think because we spoke the last time, we asked me a question. Yeah. What's your name?
Ahmad.
Ahmad? Okay. What's your Muhammad? Okay. And you?
Sure. You purposely travel here for this?
I mean, I have a lot of things in KL, so it's okay.
So, do I have to talk to that?
Yes.
And you have to talk to this as well?
No, I have a mic here.
I see. Is there many pet adoption project possible?
A handful, yeah.
A handful.
Yeah. But with pet adoption projects, they're usually quite specific to a geography, right? So, I mean, like if you were doing a pet adoption thing in Singapore, I think most of the time the people supporting you would be people who live there because who live in that place. Because it's unlike a business or something you're selling. Something like this is very community focused. So I think it's very. So we have quite a few examples, but you can always do yours. Yeah.
So their video, the campaign video is like based on sympathy, like they try to get sympathy from people or.
It really depends on the type of animal project it is. So, for example, we had one which was not an adoption thing, but a research thing. There was a professor who wanted to go to Papua New Guinea in order to research a kind of kangaroo that was becoming extinct. So his video was about talking about why it's important, why he had to go now, and what he was planning to do. A friend of mine started a project that got quite successful. They got 7,000 Singapore dollars, so it's like 15k ringgit. It was about bringing a group of volunteers or vets from Singapore to Nepal to work on sterilizing dogs in this village. So because they had some connections to this particular village in the Himalayas, and that village had a problem of, the dogs were breeding too quickly, and the villagers were, killing them because they were frustrated, or so they said there has to be a better way of doing this. So then they went there, and right now they're sterilizing all of the dogs that they find so that they can keep the population. So in that sense, the video and the text and the photos would be not a sympathy thing as well. It would be a very factual, this is why we're doing this and this is why it's important. Yeah.
This is why it's important.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to, actually my sister told me about this project. He wanted to do this, but now she still has work at hand, so she cannot do that. So in China and in America, they kill a lot of dogs annually in the animal shelter. Like in America alone, like 4 million pets per year. So they kind of like want to make the public adopt pets from the shelter instead of buying them from the pet shop, which some of the pet shop they use very cruel ways to produce the pets, So I'm just thinking maybe I can make something to tell people that animals from the shelters are actually healthy. Some of them, most of them are healthy, and they're actually quite the same, like maybe even cheaper from where you get from the shop.
Yeah, so I think in this case it would be a mix between sympathetic and factual, because if it's too, I feel like videos that are too sad also kind of makes people go like, it's too much, right? So if you could think of a campaign where okay, what you're saying now is adopt an animal from a shelter, which is great, but it's very open-ended. But what if you could say adopt an animal from, maybe you can do an adoption drive, right? So the funding is going to go towards this drive. So maybe in 3 months, over a period of 2 to 3 months, you have an adoption drive each month, for example, at a specific place, like a Publica or somewhere else. And then you can say that the funding will go towards getting the different, paying for, say, the vaccinations for the animals that get adopted that day, for example. Yeah.
I can get funds to do the...
No, so it's up to you to see how you want to structure this. So what are some of the things that would get people to think about adopting, right? So maybe sometimes if you're a first-time pet owner, you want to adopt a stray animal, a shelter animal. I see that in Singapore, all these adoption drives, sometimes it comes with vet clinics offering a certain amount of credit if you adopt on the spot. So they say if you adopt this animal today, you will get $50 worth of checkups for the first time you need it. And some pet shops like Pet Lover Center would say, okay, then I'll also give you $200 worth of kitten food or puppy food.
If you adopt now,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So I can sponsor the money
Yeah.
for them to
Yeah.
give away this giveaway.
Yeah. So that's one way to think about it. Because if you just do an open-ended, I need funds to do this, to educate people about adopting thing, people are going to say, okay, great concept and great cost, but where is the funding going to, right? So like, what exactly are you doing with the money,
Maybe
right?
I can do something like maybe a t-shirt, even a t-shirt like
Yeah.
funding would go to making a t-shirt, and then maybe I can sell to other people, and I get the money, and then I will just donate to the maybe the best.
Yeah, so I mean that's one of the ways of doing it, but raising money to make a T-shirt itself is not the end goal, because it's not really an interesting one, because there are very few people who are going to want to buy a T-shirt with a dog on it. Right? So, but if it was for a cause, right? Like maybe you want to sponsor the adoptions for the cost of adoption for 50 animals, for example. Then what is that going to cost? Right? So I think in Singapore, when you adopt animals from a shelter, usually they ask for $50 contribution as a sort of just as a sign that you're not gonna take this as a joke, right? So maybe you can say, for in your program, people who sign up through your site can get say 50, can have your fund pay for half of that cost, maybe not the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's up to you to frame it in whichever way you want. Yeah. Or maybe perhaps your fund can just go towards keeping these shelter animals in a good shape, because a lot of them require vet help. So this would be a fund that goes towards helping these animals go into vet clinics at the start so that they're in a better shape to be adopted later on. And the later on part, you can work with people who already do that, because I think it's a lot of work to actually organize that yourself.
So you're saying that I should give an end goal to the possible people.
So in general, okay, because I have a lot of friends who do animal adoption welfare stuff, right? What I say to them is crowdfunding is not a donation, so it's not good for an open-ended give me money for a cause type of project. But so if they said I want money for my cat rescue group, right? Even if they know how much money it is, it's not a good project because it's not very clearly defined, and it's very hard for the contributor to say, oh, I give you $50, what do you do with it? Because you can't actually see what they've done with it. But if they were to frame the project, and this is what I'm trying to help you do, around a goal that has a start and an end. So it's not just, I need $5,000 full stop for my cat welfare thing. It's, I need $5,000 in order to rehome 100 dogs and 100 cats within this certain period of time, estimated, because it costs this much to do this, this, and this, and this. Then that type of thing is easier to sell and account for as well.
I mean, it's very clear and very. People can easily see the effect of of their donation.
Yeah. So the one that I told you about where they went to Nepal, if you gave them I think above $100, they would name the dog after you, and they went and put a collar with that person's name.
I see. Maybe I can do that as well. You donate like maybe $50 and then the pet will name after you.
But then a new owner might not want to keep it. So just think of different creative ways to do that. Yeah, but you need to have a clear start, a clear end point. Yeah. Anyone else have a project to tell me about?
Actually, my project is a human power vehicle. Yeah, and currently, how to say? Actually, I don't have a clear idea how to campaign my project on it, because this one would be a vehicle that for us to travel for a short distance without generate any using the fossil fuel. Yeah, so I don't have a clear image on how to campaign this. Yeah, because this one also one of our project for another one. Yeah. We already designed. Just in this semester, we have to build it and operate it. Yeah.
Okay, so what you can do is, I think this is a very clear-cut product idea, so I think that's good. When you go on our website, you can search for this watch called Giano. Can I write it for you? On our site, there is this Chinese project from China that just launched. Yeah, they raised I think about 150,000. Yeah. So it's a watch, like one of those hardware, wearable, computing type things. So I think for what you're doing, your campaign will be very similar to theirs. It's about what is your product, why is it great, why is it innovation, or even if it's not innovation, why is it something that you might be interested in, right? So in that sense, you're doing pre-sales in order to get access to something like this?
Actually, my product is not really like selling to people.
Yeah.
It's I need to raise funds to
Raise-
help me to build this.
Okay, sure. How much do you need to build it?
Actually, it's 500.
500,000.
No, just 500.
Okay.
So Malaysia ringgit 500. To
Okay.
build this vehicle.
Sure. What does it consist of?
Actually, it's a recumbent bicycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, then in that case, something like this would be quite simple. You can just say you have this product idea. You're doing it because global warming, blah blah blah. Human-powered vehicles are the way to the future. You have this blueprint that you want to try out. You don't know if it's going to be super successful, but it's something that you want to do. So if you're asking for just 500, it should be okay. And then you can say that people who contribute can perhaps get the PDF file containing some of
It's
the
like-
sketches of
And
this
also planning
product.
to do like the behind the scene video deliver to them.
Yeah. So people can get the blueprint, or they can see a video of this thing being built, or if they, it's really up to you.
So if I would like to deliver, because currently if we want to post our project, we need to put on the video as well, right?
It helps a lot. Yeah.
So if I want to put it on, so what suggestion do you think I should?
Okay, so your video doesn't have to be super high quality. You can even shoot it with an iPhone. So maybe you can show some of the sketches that have already been done, right? Like up close. You can cut that into the video. Then you can show yourself saying, "Hi, my name is Sean. I'm a student here. I'm studying this, and my project is blah blah blah, and I'm doing it because you want to build a human-powered vehicle that is economical." And if you have more time and the abilities to, you can go into the whole why you're doing this, and the broader issues at play here, like the whole thing about climate change and the environment. But generally, if you address all these topics, you should be fine. Yeah. Then at the end of it, just end off by saying, and this is true for every project, but at the end of it by saying that, saying again, in one sentence, what is your product? What are you doing? What is your project? And how people can help you. So you can say, I'm looking for just 500 ringgit, which is X amount in whatever currency, and I would really, it goes a long way in helping you take that step towards building this vehicle.
Thank you.
Do you have any statistic about what kind of people usually donates in Possible? Like maybe they're interested in technology or environment or something?
Okay, so we have a very broad mix, but what I tell project creators is that it doesn't matter what our existing crowd is, or where they come from, or what they're interested in, because the majority of your supporters should come first from people you already know. So it's the people that you bring in that would then in some way influence the other people on our site to contribute. Yeah, but I think generally you can say that we have a very creative crowd that is, so films and music do pretty well in general, but at the same time, people don't just look at one category and stop there. So if there's something that was on the site that was, related to an interest they might have on the site, then maybe it's something that they would do. So I think environmental projects would do very, very well because we have quite a hippie crowd. Yeah.
Hi. For me, actually, I made I was thinking about a project for a flip flap bag, but I found it's really hard to do it in one semester. So I changed my idea to be merchandise for MOOC. So, and the first question, my idea to be a T-shirt, but I'm asking you from a point of view, like for merchandise, what the best thing can I do? Like a T-shirt or a towel or a sweater, or what I can do actually?
So, with things like that, you're doing merchandise for what? MOOC. So for the site.
For the course itself, yeah, for the course under Dr. Mushtaq.
It's hard to tell. It really depends on your crowd. So maybe something you can do is you can do some surveys with your classmates as well as the population, the students that are online, and say, here are a couple of things what would you like to see. That's one way of trying to figure it out. So what kind of T-shirts do you want to do? I mean, they're just going to say open learning?
No, it will be the Moog logo and then such a design that explain what is the brain rewiring. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like in this case your target market is very limited because
mostly it will be the MOOC students in the internet and also the university students.
Yeah.
The one who mostly they will know about this.
Yeah. So you need to find an angle to make it a more popular idea, right? So if you were, if you're him, like, why would he buy a shirt that says MOOC? Like, would he wear it? And if so, or if not, why not? Yeah. I think it's an idea that is quite niche, so I don't have any answers on whether it be popular or not. Yeah.
And also usually for the T-shirt, what will be better for making a campaign for it? A campaign. Which better? Like, should I make only video or make pictures or?
If you have some examples of the design, it helps.
Okay.
So
you mean as a pictures or as a video?
Both.
All right.
Videos always help in every campaign.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think more importantly, you have to find an angle to make this a popular concept. So I don't know what it's going to be, right? So maybe it's that in some schools, like say if you would go to Harvard or something, they wear their sweatshirts quite proudly, not just because it's Harvard, but because, in the US they have a culture of wearing school shirts. So perhaps you are just doing maybe it's not just for open learning, maybe you can do one for the big tree MOOCs out there.
Sorry?
They're really big online learning courses, programs online, like Coursera, Udemy. So there are a lot of this. So perhaps what you can do is you can be selling shirts for all of the top ones instead of just your own.
Yeah, but in this case, do I need like a permission or something from them?
Perhaps, yeah. You need to look into things like that. Yeah.
The campaign video, yes, I forgot to ask. So if I do this, I mean, the thing they'll talk about. So what should be my campaign video? Maybe I'll just go to the vet there at SPCA over there in Selangor. Then just.
I mean, you can do it. Like I said, you can do a mix of the sympathetic and the factual type of video, right? So you can say, perhaps you can ask your sister to be in a video, right? So she can talk about why she cares strongly about this, and then perhaps you can find someone who works with rescue animals. One of those people who rescue animals and foster them until they get adopted, and you can ask them why they do this and what the current situation in Malaysia is. Or you could even find a friend or someone who has adopted an animal from a shelter and have them talk about their relationship with this whole situation and why they chose a shelter animal and why they would do it again. So you can think of it as making it advertorial to try to convince. You can think of it as trying to make an ad ad. Yeah. I mean, not like an ad, but like, an ad form type of video where you're trying to convince people who want pets, which is most people, but who may not have the education or knowledge to find out more about it. So there are a lot of people, I think, in Malaysia, from what I know, who think of pet shop as the first thing. So if this is already the target audience whose minds you want to change, then what would possibly change their minds, right? So you need to tell them that, okay, pet shops are bad because blah blah blah, but you don't want to be too preachy either. And then you want to say that there are this number of animals out there who are looking for love and a home. So and you can maybe try to debunk the myths, if there are any myths about adopting shelter animals. Like, some people think they're more aggressive, some people think that they're hard to deal with, or that they have diseases, or so maybe you can debunk a few of those myths. But you want to do all of this in 3 minutes or less, and then also have yourself talking about why you're doing this. Yeah. So it's an advertisement plus you talking about it.
So I can just ask people to sponsor someone to adopt pets.
Huh?
You told me that what I can do is
you can sponsor some of the goodies, for example, right? So that when they see that there's this campaign, they know that, okay, if I know about this campaign because of what's going on your site, and maybe you can do an adoption drive, maybe you can sponsor a part of the fees. I don't know, it's really up to you how you want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one more question.
Sure.
In general, what's make the campaign fail?
Okay, I think most of the time the campaigns that fail because the creators put up the project and then they expect the funding to just come in without doing a lot of work themselves. So it's actually a bit of work. So you have to have a plan. So your plan could be make a list of all the people who are in your target market, right? So if you're selling t-shirts, if you're selling bags, if you're selling a course, if you're whatever you're doing, like, who are the people in your friends list who care about this topic or who might want this t-shirt, right? Then make that list and put it in a spreadsheet and have their emails or their Facebook or their contact in some way, and sort of personally reach out to them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and is this something you're interested in? And at the same time, if you are doing a pet project, perhaps you could have a list of who are the welfare organizations or individuals here who would know people who would support this, right? Perhaps you can get the pet magazines to write a little feature about this a month ahead of you doing it. Yeah. So you need to put in a little bit of marketing effort.
How about the quality of the video? Does it affect the campaign, or?
To be honest, as
Like
long
how
as you,
professional it is,
to be honest, as long as you have a video, your chances go up a lot higher. What is actually in the video doesn't matter as much as just having one. Yeah. Because it's about letting people see in 3 minutes or less who you are, right? So it's about pitching your idea to them in a video form, because they're not going to read it. So what are you going to say? Yeah.
So as long as the content is good and it's there, and then it's fine. I mean, doesn't need a professional cutting.
In fact, later I'll post some example videos on the site, and then you can see that there are a lot of videos that are actually not that great, but they get the job done.
I see.
Yeah.
Because we're not, we're not good at it.
It's fine. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be super professional.
Actually, my project is I want to make a mug, like a merchandise. And just before you said about the environment projects that are more successful, I thought of having a logo of like Go Green or something on the mug. And I can pledge that certain % of what I make goes to like green technology organizations and these Go Green organizations that help make the sustainable world and sustainable environment. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, it could be something that could work. You need to tighten up on your marketing approach. So positioning it as a mug is not very attractive, but if you call it, I don't know, give it a catchy name, call it the green mug or drink green or something. So if you could come up with say 2 to 3 products like a mug and something else, then that were stuff that you interact with on a daily basis, then the story would be these products are not only functional, they also help remind people about the environment. So yeah, I think something like that with a bit of more of a story would work better. Yeah, and then also be very clear about who the proceeds go to when you're talking about like 7%, right? So find an organization saying X amount of my money is going to go to them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so if you have, okay, sure.
Yeah, my project is multi-drink bottle. Drink bottle. So it's basically a bottle that going to be designed to be divided in 3 sections. Yeah, it's going to be divided in 3 sections, so you can carry several type of drinks at once.
It's cool. Yeah. So I'm assuming you'll be trying to make this like for sale, or
Yeah.
Okay. So then, yeah, figure out how much it will cost in order to make it, wholesale, or maybe not even wholesale. Maybe you can make 100 first, and then
Depends with the manufacturer.
yeah. So find out from a couple of manufacturers, and then try to do something like the watch thing, the watch project, or there's another project called the Upper Cup. Upper Cup, which is a coffee cup that someone designed. It made 66,000. So find out from these projects how they positioned a product which was just an idea that hadn't been made, and convince people to buy it ahead of time. So I think yours is fairly straightforward.
Thank you.
Okay. What is your name?
Omar.
Omar. Okay, nice to meet you. Okay, if you have any questions, just message me on the site. Okay, I'm gonna walk around a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm doing some sort of campaign, regarding teaching people how to invest.
Okay.
Particularly, my target would be the students and tailors.
Yep.
So I would like to organize an event which would be held in one of the lecture theatre in Taylors.
Yep.
So I already have a speaker ready for this talk.
Yeah.
So it would be around 2 hours or less. And I would like to ask, so this, because nowadays a lot of people tends to go into the stock market without having any knowledge of how to invest.
Yeah.
Instead, they tends to speculate.
Yeah.
So this talk is the objective is to equip them with some knowledge about how to value invest. Because the speaker I found is they do provide courses in teaching you how to do value investing, like how Warren Buffett do it. So I would like to know, how do I crowdfund using the Possible tool?
Okay, I think there are 2 ways to think about this. The first way is to have an event approach. So it would be about using crowdfunding as a way to sell tickets, for example, right? So to convince students and tailors to come for it. But I don't think that would be a very popular approach, because maybe they're not interested, and if they were, maybe they don't want to pay for it unless there's real value in it. So something else that you could do is you could think about using the event as a platform to kick off more investment and financial information for students type of approach. So perhaps at the end of it, after the event, you would record the event and what was said. You would put together a basic toolkit, for example, and you would give people who contribute access to this material so that they can use it themselves, for example. Yeah.
So instead of collecting tickets as a way to crowdfund, so I have to.
I mean, you can. Are you planning to charge for the event?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can still do that. So if you look at our page, we do this thing called the Possible Pop-Up Shop. So if you search pop-up in our page, it'll show you our own events, which we crowdfund as a way of doing ticketing. But it's also ticketing plus something else. So we did a birthday party thing, and so basically, if you paid $5, you could get a basic ticket. If you got $10, you could get a ticket and drink. If you got $100, you could come to the party and stuff, something else. So event crowdfunding is quite straightforward, but I don't know if you're going to do this in this case.
What do you mean by event crowdfunding?
So it really depends on what you're trying to crowdfund for. Like, are you trying to crowdfund to get tickets sold? Are you trying to crowdfund to get money to get the speakers to come and cover your expenses? Or are you trying to crowdfund in order to start a society here in Taylor's that has an interest in investing?
It will be towards crowdfunding, covering the expenses.
Yeah.
Like renting the lecture hall and inviting the speakers, and maybe there will be catering available for them during tea break or something like that.
Yeah.
So is that going to work? I mean, like,
okay,
how to make people to like more willing to pledge?
Okay, I don't know about here because I'm not from Malaysia, and I don't know what the campus culture is like. But I feel like if there was something like that at my university, unless I already knew that there was, say, 100 people or 50 people who were really interested in this topic and who don't mind paying for it, I feel like it would be a bit of a stretch to ask them to pay for something like this unless you can prove a value in it. So maybe you need to think about how you can make your event more attractive in order to get people to pay. Yeah. How much do you think you'd need?
How much?
Yeah.
Because I haven't really worked out the details yet, but would it be a bit far-fetched if the target is 10,000?
I mean, nothing is far-fetched, but you just have to really know your community. So do you think you'd be able to get a certain number of people to contribute a certain amount? Yeah. So if it's 10,000, like say something is 100 ringgit, that's pretty high, but you're gonna have to need to do a lot of that to get 10,000. Right? So then you can think about what more you can do on top of just the event. Like maybe there is something that you can take home. Maybe you can convince your speaker to offer a 20% discount off their courses. That would be part of the package you give. I mean, it's really up to you. So you need to think about a way to attract people. So, like right now, do you think that there are, say, 50 people at least in school who are interested in learning about this? Or is this an event that you open up to the public? Yeah.
So what if I make it as public, so those who pledge it can come for the event if they want?
Yep. So then, in that case, if you look at the newspapers or stuff like that, sometimes they have they advertise these courses where someone says he'll teach you how to invest, right? And they are usually thousands of ringgit. So maybe you can sort of benchmark yourself against why you're better than that. So if you do like a one-day course, like maybe it's 200 ringgit, for example, and then just for the ticket, and maybe with food and something else. So I can't really give much more advice until you have the logistics figured out, like how much money you need and who's coming. Because for events, it's quite a simple, straightforward thing to crowdfund. Like you either have the people who will come or you don't. So what is the bare minimum you need to run this event? And go with that.
The minimum.
Yeah, because if you don't hit your amount, you're not going to get anything.
So I have to feed. Okay. But from what I saw from the puzzleboard.com, there must be something to give back to those who pledge.
So, as I mentioned, for events, it's usually about accessing something more than just a ticket. So there would be a basic tier, which is just a ticket. There would be a tier, which is maybe a ticket and food. And then there would be a tier, which is ticket, food, and drinks. So, yeah. So you can do that, or you can do the higher amount gets you one-on-one coaching time with the guide. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah.
I actually want to make a hangover drink.
Oh, that's fun.
So the product, I thought of the name. I
Yeah.
would call it Reverse because the name itself will speak for the drink itself, lah. But for the campaign, right? I don't know what to. I know you need to do a 3 minutes video.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know how to make the video exciting.
Do you have this product already? Like, do you know how to make it?
It's a concept like in my brain.
Do you have any idea what's going to go into it?
In the drink?
Yeah.
A bit here and there.
Okay. So then I think something like this would be a mix of marketing and branding. So you can say in your video that, let's think, okay, you can either do a very like informative approach where you can just be very direct and say you're this person, you're making this drink because blah blah blah, or you could do a more fun approach where maybe you can have some friends like act out a bit of a scene of them being really hungover, or they could like pretend to be in the movie Hangover, like with the music and all this stuff, and then you can do like a fake ad almost for your product, and then at the end of it talk about why you're doing this. Yeah, but before you go there, I think you need to firm up the details about this product. So at least have an idea of what's going to be in it. So even if you don't know if it's proven for sure, like maybe you know that certain ingredients are known for having certain qualities. So I don't know, maybe lemongrass is one. So it's like maybe you make a line of lemongrass flavored Asian hangover drinks. Yeah, and it'll just be in little bottles or whatever. So if you can do a basic bottling thing, right? Like just try. But so with this stuff, you would need to give something back. So are you going to give them this drink as a
I'll give
reward?
them maybe like the top 100, highest one, the highest pledges. They'll get their name printed on the can. They give coaster, postcard, maybe with their name written on it.
Yeah.
Or small little things.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all right. So you just have to develop your product.
Okay. Thanks. Oh yeah, I was talking about. Let's just say my project. I was thinking of inventing a flying shoes in the sense that usually basketball players they play basketball. Some of them, they have been playing so many years and yet they still cannot dunk.
They still cannot dunk, yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking of inventing these shoes that enable people to dunk.
Okay.
Do you think it will be? Do you think it's workable?
I mean, anything's workable, but it's just how far can you go for something like this, right? I mean, usually products like this will work if you have a working concept.
Okay, so okay. Let's just say my items is flying shoes, okay?
Yeah.
So I have to come up with all the concepts. Like, I mean, okay. Let's just say, okay. First of all, flying shoes. Second, I have to make a campaign to get pledges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say I get my pledges, so I have to come up with these shoes.
Yeah. Yes, so typically a project like this is a lot of work because we're making a physical item that's quite new, that needs that's specially designed. You have to design it, you have to, I mean not that you have to, but I feel like if you were to have this idea and crowdfund it but not actually give it, it would be a bit of a waste. Like why would people contribute, right? Yeah. So maybe you can think of something that you don't actually have to make because this is something that would take a long time to do.
Okay, that's the one that
No worries. Okay, hi.
So my project is wanting to help the single mothers. So I have contacted with a local organization and also a social entrepreneur, but they're not free to entertain me. So I'm not sure what should I do to help. But my basic idea is to set up a website and sell the handcrafts from the single mothers. Yeah, that's much about it. Yeah. At the moment, none. But this current organization, they have been running this for 7 years, and they offered sewing classes. So maybe I can, yes, ask them for merchandise, and then I can help them to sell online. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. So perhaps what you can do is you can restructure your campaign around where these guys are providing the merchandise, and maybe you're raising funds to create a website for social movement and awareness about this topic. Yeah.
So do I use the fund to create a website?
It's really up to you.
Oh yeah, because I thought of using that money to create a website. Yeah.
You can. But you need to be very clear, very specific about it. So you're using this to set up a website / a movement that would create awareness about single mothers, and maybe in the first couple of months this is the amount that you need in order to get started, and then you can put a plan together. So say maybe the 3 phases, and in your first phase you would start with creating the basic website, and in the second phase you would start with selling these products from these groups, and maybe in the third phase you can do an advertorial type of a campaign where people can learn more about single mothers. Yeah, but that you're asking for the portion for the first part for now. Yeah.
So I have to write this in my campaign.
I think it helps. Yeah. So, because it helps people get a sense of what you're trying to do instead of just listing. Yeah. And I think something else to note is that you should try to bring across repeatedly in your writing as well as in your video why you think this is an issue that you care about, right? So you can show some information like single mothers. They may be in every country, but in Malaysia particularly, it's a social problem because of blah 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 blah, and especially teenage girls, for example. Yeah. How's your project going? You're smoking one.
Yeah.
Change already.
No, I still doing the same.
Yeah.
Maybe I should show you the groups. It's easier.
Okay.
Just a minute. Where's my group? Oh, yes. So I refine my group into the stage of planning, where now I currently are still in the recruiting members idea collection, and I expect I will be launching to the idea discussion and video by 28th of May, and I'll be launched on possible.com on 30th of May. What I plan to do is that on possible.com, I will be dividing people into four categories. The first category is that if you pledge a certain amount of money, you'll get a bracelet. I have a supplier contact already. The second, the second amount of the pledge money, you can get a video I mean a DVD or CD with a bracelet or anything. The third one, if you pledge a sufficient big amount of money, you'll be getting the videos even before we launch it. And the fourth one is actually a free donation, which is targeting people who already a smoker who get help in our campaign. If you successfully reduce on your cigarette by one packet, you maybe can donate $1 to us. Yeah, that's what I plan to do. Currently, I have a helping from one club from another uni and one club from Taylor's to help me to do this.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I think it's fine. I think you've got it quite well thought out. So if you have any tips you need about the video later on, just message me on the site.
Okay, when is
Mustak, just leave a message on my profile page.
Okay.
Mustak said he wants people to ask me questions on my page so that everyone else can see it. Yeah.
Actually, I still stuck at the video collection actually, because I plan to launch it in a few stages. The first stage is actually the emotional impact. The second stage is actually to let the NGO parties, which I already sending email to contact with them, to help them to do it scientifically and professionally to help them to quit smoking. And the third part is actually, I don't think of it for now. Is actually to be cooperation with the government to replace the Tak Nak campaign. But that's too far, but so I focus on these two. But I have a lot of educational video, but the ideas for the emotional impact is not enough. I mean, not good enough. Or do you have any ideas?
I mean, unless you want to do your own version of, that video you showed me.
Yeah, I'm going to do my own version, but it's maybe some different ideas. Because I realized that I try it on Malaysia, I mean, at least in this campus, right, it's not so effective. So I'm planning to do something.
Maybe if you have any friends who are in the creative line, like, especially people who have an advertising background, you can try to get some tips from them about that. Yeah.
I'll try.
If I can think of anything, I'll let you know, but it's not my forte. Yeah.
That's my current process, and actually I was seeking for the ideas only, but still I cannot get a very, very good idea yet. But I have the members with me. I have one person to do the photoshops and 2 person to do videos.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
Or do you have any suggestion about the possible part when I divide the pledge? Do you have any?
The rewards?
Yeah, do you have any suggestion
I think you need to think about whether a bracelet is stuff people want to wear. Maybe something which could be more effective is, you know how they do the pink ribbon, yellow ribbon stuff every year, right? Like for different causes. So it's all about just about a symbolism. So that one day you wear this ribbon because you want people to think about breast cancer. So perhaps you could do something similar. Maybe there already is anti-smoking day. Yeah, you could do a T-shirt. Or you could do a sporty T-shirt thing, and maybe you could get your sports teams to contribute as a group, and then so it gives the sense of healthy living equals no smoking, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Then as for my crafts, okay. Do you have any idea that what I can do now? Because since they are not responding to me, so I'm not sure what I can do at this moment. Yeah.
Maybe you can find more women's groups, not necessarily single mothers. Preferably something larger that has more capacity to do this stuff with you, and maybe your handicrafts for the crowdfunding, not for the site, but for the crowdfunding, can come first from this group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it's good? It's a good project?
Yeah, it is. I think it's a good cause as well. So it's just about finding creative ways to get people to be interested. Yeah.
If anything, I can just save message.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have too much to ask. When you came the first time, I've already asked what I need to more or less. Okay, but anyway, My project, I'm doing. No, I'm not doing it. I'm. I'm helping the people from School of Communication Journalism to raise funds for their movie. Yes, I'm not making the movie. Their lecturer told them, if you don't have.
Is it Andrew, the lecturer?
I don't know who's the lecturer.
So there was a guy from broadcast who is here. He says he wants me to talk to his students later. So, yeah.
No idea.
Okay. Anyway, so this video, this movie, film.
Yeah, so it's part of the assignment anyway. So since they're gonna make it, and their lecturer told them, well, if you don't have the funds, then you be creative. so I know them. So they are my friends. So I told them, why don't we just do crowdfunding, like, you can get a bit more funds and you can get better equipment and.
How much do you think they need?
They've already told me the budget. It's a very low budget actually. Below 1,000 ringgit would do for them, because for them they really like hands-on work. They don't use CGI and such. They really use hands-on and lighting, just really to show the human emotion. The focus on the actors.
So they have a script already,
They are
or
working on it. They're still waiting for the details to be released from their lecturer.
okay. So for now, what you can do is you can get them to start getting ready some clips of stuff that they have done in the past. It can be schoolwork, can be their own work, whatever, right?
Actually, they have made a music video about 1 month ago for another assignment.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So get these clips in one place and then have it ready. Put it on YouTube, but you can put it as private or unlisted for now. And then try to think of the skeleton for the project. So how you'll convince people to contribute this much. I don't think it should be a problem because films do really well on our site.
Yeah, I was thinking what kind of people would want to kind of help out in this kind of films. I was thinking maybe those people that actually support the.
In general, our community is very pro filmmakers, so they especially want to help younger filmmakers. So that's an angle you can.
Because I was thinking along those lines of people. I think there are some people who really support these small time filmmakers. Unless you're like Michael Bay, so you just go there and 10 million, just drop 10 million to your lap.
I think it's possible. So actually a lot of student projects in Australia use Possible for their films, and they raise like 10, 15k.
Do we have to those clips on YouTube first and people watch?
I mean, it helps to have as many clips as you have, but what's more important is that they will have to film their own video to talk about this project. So if they had anything to share, like any drafts, any how do you convey the story of what they're going to do? I don't know the topic yet, they also don't know, but when they do know it, then ask them to do a very quick take on it and try to convey why that is really, really awesome and to show it visually if they can somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, because I did see some of the films on Possible. I know quite some of them are the bigger budget because they're like a big series. It's like how many episodes? Ours is basically a one-shot 15-minute movie. It's a one-shot thing. Yeah, it's for kind of for their assignment lah. But if then again, if possible, then we hope a lot of people like it as well, and they also want to watch it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one. So just, I think films are quite straightforward. Just look at all the films, look for the smaller ones, and see what you can learn from them in terms of rewards in the video.
Yeah, rewards. We're planning to give out like the videos that we have made like free of charge. Like if you pledge a certain amount, then we'll give you like the full uncut version. It's like it's like with everything unedited, so you get the whole set. Maybe you get your name.
Yeah, so lots of possibilities, and I think films should be quite okay. So
is it all right? So it's just how you want to show how you pull people in to kind of support your cause, but.
Bigger population who willing to donate the money. Because from what I can find on Possible, right, the project, those are funded, right. More of them tend to be Australian and Singapore actually.
Okay, because the success of a project is not based on the people that we already have right now, because in crowdfunding, most of the first part of the money that you get comes from people that you know. So it's like if you see your friend from Malaysia posting, oh, I'm crowdfunding this thing, maybe you're just going to click on it and support him. So you don't have to worry too much about who is already on the site. If you can identify the people here who are relevant, or your friends even overseas who might want to help, then that's a good start. Yeah.
Because I was thinking, should the videos be make it slightly slanted to the...
No, it doesn't have to lah. It's fine, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, if you guys have any questions, just drop me a message on Open Learning.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thanks. It's classroom.